Hello, and welcome back to the Art of Teaching Business podcast. My name is Denise Leigh, and I am the host. Today, we're going to be talking about student-centered instruction. Anyone that follows me on Instagram or Facebook or has been visiting my blog knows that I am an advocate for student-led instruction. Not only an advocate, but I use it every single day. Student-led instruction is when the teacher isn't doing all the talking. Yep, you heard it from someone that loves to talk. I like to talk less in my classroom. I want to hear from my students. Student-led instruction is when you really aren't doing a lecture style of teaching, you are having the students discover. Student-led instruction is creativity and really prompting students to solve problems. Student-led instruction is when students are given a choice of what they're learning, and you are really offering an inclusive classroom for everyone, all learners, and you're really meeting them where they are as far as their abilities, disabilities, and so forth. So student-led instruction sounds like it can be complicated. It isn't. There's no other way, in my opinion, to be teaching. I do not teach by PowerPoint, and sometimes teachers are a little surprised by that. I believe the PowerPoints are very 1990s, and I have risen to the occasion. These students want to be heard. And if they know they're going to be called on, they're going to be engaged. They're going to put their phones down and they're going to listen. And that's exactly what happens in my classroom. So let me give you an example, if you're not using a PowerPoint, how you design and develop lessons and how you deliver great, rich content. So I have a resource that I use all the time on cash apps. I teach cash apps in personal finance and in accounting class. A little bit of a different way, but cash apps. Cash apps are Zelle and Venmo and PayPal, cash apps. Well, there are 6 top cash apps that I want to introduce students to. I want them to know that there is some security concerns with using cash apps. I also want them to know that these companies take great stride in making sure that their cash apps are secure. I also want them to know how you do accounting for cash app transactions. So I have a lot of objectives. So I have on this resource the 6 cash apps. And if I have a class of 20 students, then I would have my students I would split them up actually into 6 groups and assign a cash app to each 3 students. I would give them about 5 minutes to find out as much about that cash app as they can. And then after the 5 minutes is over, and sometimes I set Google timers, sometimes I do the Google stopwatch on my Promethean board. Sometimes I just go around and I say, okay, 3 minutes up, 2 minutes left, or whatever. But after that time is up, then each of the groups report to the class, while all of the rest of the class are reporting their findings. That's reported by one of their fellow classmates. Student-led instruction is when the students are really leading the instruction, and then I'm acting as a coach. I will add any bits of information that I want the students to have in their notes that maybe wasn't covered by the group. Surprisingly, sometimes the groups are very thorough and I don't have anything else to say, and I just say, great job. And I do far less talking. Fun fact, the last 2 school years, this school year included, I teach 6 classes in a row before I have a break. I have my prep period and my lunch period together. My morning goes quickly because it's just one class after another. But if I was teaching to a PowerPoint in each of those classes and I was lecturing, I would never survive the 4th class in a row, yet alone 6 in a row. So the student-led instruction also saves me so much banter, so much conversing, talking, working on my feet, where I can really be allowing the students to run the show. So another example would be a goals of law activity I've done in my business law class for years. There are goals of law, and there's actually 3 different sections of this goals of law activity, digital resource. The students access it by our learning management system. We use Google Classroom at our school. And the first section is on fairness in law. The next section is the reasons of law. And then there's a next section. I would take those sections and I would divide the class up into 3 groups. I would say your group's going to be doing section 1 for the next 10 minutes. You're going to be doing section 2, section 3. And in 10 minutes, be prepared to report your findings to the class. And that's exactly what they do. They report their findings to the class. Are they on their phones? No, they know the clock is ticking and that they are responsible for the information to teach their classmates. Again, student-led instruction. A lot of people know me as the city girl, the teacher that teaches in the country, that's got a city built in her room. I do project-based learning a lot, and project-based learning is just one way where it is a student-led classroom. Students are making choices. They are in the driver's seat. They're the ones that are thinking critically through problem solving. And when you're building a city with 40 some students at a time, you run into some problems, and there's no textbook that's writing the answers. Our world is full of problems. I want my students to be problem solvers. So they have to work, communicate, collaborate together in order to find solutions to the problems. Again, student-led or student-based instruction. I also want students to be able to do to their ability level. And no judgment here. All of them have the same criteria, but I make sure that I really get to know my students by a lot of formative assessments. Those little times in instruction where we stop and we reflect. Reflection is a really big part of student-led instruction. It's important for us to reflect on our teaching, and it's important for students to reflect on what they've learned. Through these little formative assessment meetings with my students, what I have found is that I'm learning so much about their ability. I want them to meet me where they are, and I want to push them a little bit further than where they even think they can go. So student-led instruction and project-based learning together offers me that opportunity for students to show me what they can do, and then expect a little more from them, and then they will often deliver more. So there you go. Student-led instruction is one of my very favorite ways of providing great, rich business education content in my classroom through project-based learning, several formative assessments, student choice, student-led discussions, offering opportunities where students are assigned information to report back to the class, and they are instructing their classmates. There's episode 2. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to more episodes of The Art of Teaching Business.